Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Most Accurate Podcast. I am your host, Jennifer Akins, joined as always by Justin Edwards on this lovely Tuesday morning. Justin, how's it going?
Fantastic. It's like 60 degrees out here out of nowhere, which,
Same.
I'd rather have some snow, but I guess I'll go get some sun after the podcast or, whatever people do when it's nice out.
Yeah, it's actually really nice here too. It's like upper 50s and 60s all week. So I have zero complaints about that in mid-December. None. I know you just said you prefer snow. I do not.
I'm just a big fan.
I used to be. I'm over it. Maybe it's the old lady in me ready to like snowbird down. Well, I'm not going to snowboard to Florida because that's where I grew up. Not a chance. But if I could stay at like 60 year round, I'd be all about it. Not too hot, not too cold. I like a medium temp. Anyway, welcome, like I said, to week 16.
Week 16.
Week 16. Yeah, I mean, you should be into the playoffs here in your league. I did discover the other night that my husband's league, which he's the commissioner, was not. This was the last week, or last week was still regular season. I was like, what?
Jeez.
You're one of those weird people, and and you live with me.
What are you doing?
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know. He set it up. I had nothing to do with it. I'm not even in it. So anyway, most of you should be into the playoffs. Hopefully, if you're listening to this podcast, you are still alive in the playoffs. Justin, are you still alive in anything?
Yeah, I got a couple Dynasty leagues, and I don't think I have any redraft leagues left, but I don't play in a lot of redraft leagues, which is probably something stupid to admit because I'm on this podcast. But I do pay attention to all streamers, even though I'm only in a couple redraft leagues. I just do a ton of Dynasty stuff and best ball, which doesn't even look at the waiver wire.
No, and this was, I hate to admit this, but this was by far my worst best ball season ever. I mean, I'm so bummed. I actually sent a text to our former coworker TJ. I'm like, it's your fault. You're gone, and all of a sudden I suck at best ball.
What have you done?
Yeah, I don't know. This is my worst. This was my worst year by far. I'm not done, I believe. Well, on Underdog, I did something called the marathon. I don't even understand how it works, but I only did 2 of them, and they're both still alive. But it says weeks 1 through 17. So I'm like, okay, it's just a regular league, but then it's a tournament. Like and I don't know how that works because you're still in your little pod right now.
Oh yeah, I think it's just like the highest score across the entire contest, as opposed to like getting cut off at week 15 or week 14.
Okay, so you could technically be in 3rd place in your pod, I guess, and then still somehow cash. I don't know. But I'm in 1st place in both of those.
All right, yeah, there you go.
Which is good. And I think I made it through one like puppy or Pomeranian or Chihuahua or Schnauzer or whatever. But that's it. I mean, no best ball mania. Like, this is by far my worst. I will say this though. I am still alive in the Scott Fish Bowl.
Yeah, there you go.
Insane. I actually, let me look real quick. I believe.
What'd you end up scoring? Like 210?
I ended up with 2. Hold on. Let me go back and look at this because I already haven't moved to the next page. I scored 206 as far as last, but my total score was 305. I made the cutoff by 0.50.
Oh yes,
I was 4th from the bottom, so like 250 make it, and I was 247.
Still counts.
It still counts, and honestly, like I made a lot of bad decisions. So there's plenty left on my bench. I did lose David Montgomery. Unfortunately, I lost him everywhere. I lost him. I had him in almost every league. I lost him in my guillotine league that I'm still alive. There's 3 of us, but I don't have him anymore. And then my main home league. Thankfully, I had a bye. But I did have David Montgomery, so I'm going to have to replace him this week with somebody on my bench because of course, all the good waiver wire, like the Jerome Fords. I mean, they're rostered in my
right.
Not
not in my league.
Yeah, not in my league. But that's not what this is about. This is the streaming show, which is we go over all the streaming, the 4 positions: quarterback, tight end, kicker, and defense. We also answer your questions if you have any. I see there are a whopping 30 people listening to this podcast right now,
Let's go.
which is down about 500 from normal. So obviously, you guys didn't make it, and I'm sorry. Or maybe you're just doing other things right now,
Hey, we'll see it. We'll see you next year, right?
which is totally fine. Let's do a quick recap of our streamers from last week. I will start with mine. My very top streamer was Jameis Winston, who I actually had to DM our web guy because he was not on the fantasy web or fantasy points browser. I couldn't find him because he had negative points, and they made a decision this year, I guess, to not include negative points. So Jameis Winston had negative 0.36 as the quarterback 41. Yeah, not great. But Aaron Rodgers was second. And honestly, Aaron Rodgers was second just because I didn't want to list him first. But he was the quarterback 4 with 30.1. Cooper Rush was quarterback 8 with 19.1, and then Bryce Young was quarterback 18 with 12. So it wasn't a horrible week, other than Jameis Winston absolutely just Jameis Winston it up, and yeah, with negative points. How was tight end for you?
It's pretty similar in the tight end streets, honestly. Except tight ends were, again, last week, or a couple of days ago, were as miserable as they were in the beginning of the year, and actually just as bad as they were the week prior. We got 2 tight end ones on the week, but Noah Gray scored 9.1, mostly on that one scramble touchdown, and then Chigakonkwo with the tight end 7 at 9.9 points. So that's kind of a glimpse into how bad the tight end position was. Hunter Henry was our top streaming recommendation last week, 4.5 points. The tight end 26, not great there. And Juwan Johnson gives up a touchdown to teammate Foster Moreau, and he was the tight end 39. So we got the tight end 7, the tight end 10, pretty good there, and then the tight end 26, the tight end 39. So, I mean, a fine week, but certainly not my best work.
Right. Well, it wasn't really your best work. It was, you weren't out there, but I get it. Kicker was okay, actually. It wasn't horrible. The best kicker of the week was Will Reichert. He was tied for kicker 2 with 14 points. And then Chad Ryland, who was my number 1 streamer, he ended up tied for kicker 6 with 12 points. And then we have Zane Gonzalez was my recommendation. Greg Joseph ended up playing, but like I always say in kicker, it's not the person, it's the spot, right?
It's the environment.
Yeah, it's kicker. Like, we're not going to pretend that this guy is that much better than that guy. It's the environment. Greg Joseph was kicker 11 with 8 points. Cade York was tied for kicker 15 with 7. And then Will Lutz also was tied with him for kicker 15 with 7. So, I mean, honestly, all of them were tied for kicker 15. So with all the ties and whatnot, it's probably among the top 20 kickers. So it wasn't horrible.
Not at all.
It was decent enough. And then let's go through defense real quick.
Defenses were good. I mean, there were so many freaking turnovers last week. It would have been pretty hard to find a defense that was not very good. We had the Bengals at the Titans. Will Levis was a turnover machine. The Bengals scored 19 points. They were the defense 4. The Cardinals at the Patriots, defense 21 only, but still had 5 points, so that's perfectly fine. The Falcons were the defense 2, scoring even more than the Bengals. They had 20 points against the Raiders last night. It feels like days ago, that game. And then the Panthers were the defense 24 at 2 points against the Cowboys. Cooper Rush did just fine against them, so not a great play there. But we did have the overall defense 2 and the overall defense 4 at 20 and 19 points. So either of those teams could have easily pushed you to the edge of a week-winning DST, which is nice.
No, for sure. All right. Well, let's move on. Let's turn the page to week 16. Before we get into the streamers, we're gonna do our weird sport of the week. I figured it was apropos this week. We're gonna do the running of the reindeer,
just in time,
as we are just in the nick of time, in the Saint nick of time for Christmas. So the running of the reindeer is an annual event held in Anchorage, Alaska. It's part of the Fur Rendezvous Festival, which is locally known as the Fur Rondi, but we'll get into that in a minute. It first started in 2008, and basically people run down a 4-block downtown street with a group of reindeer behind them. a la Pamplona's running of the bulls. Some people are naked, some people are shirtless, some people are fully clothed, some people are in costumes. It's, whatever you want to do. The run does feature domesticated caribou, so there's no level of danger like Pamplona whatsoever. It's just a for funsies run with reindeer, which to me sounds super fun. I would
Right.
absolutely do that. Pet
With no
them as
risk of death. I'm
no,
fine with that.
you pet them as they go by. I'm absolutely down with that. I do want to mention, so part of the Fur Rondi Festival, there's also 3 other events I figured we'd throw into the mix while we're here. There's a Frostbite foot race, which competitors in costume run through downtown Anchorage. I don't know how that's different. I guess it's just without the reindeer. They also have a world championship dog weight pull. So sled dogs attempt to pull the greatest weight, which I think is awesome. Sled dogs love to sled dog,
They love
So
that stuff. Yeah.
yeah, it's fun to see them do that stuff. And then the final event in the Furrondi Festival is Mr. Fur Face Beard Contest. Beards are grown as long as possible, decorated and shaped. I've almost put in like beard contest before for Weird Sport of the Week, but I keep putting that off. I'm like, yeah, maybe next time. But so that's that.
Yeah,
Running with the reindeer.
this one is quite apropos though. I would absolutely do the running with the reindeer.
Yeah, I would.
I've never been to Alaska. It sounds like a good opportunity.
I have been to Alaska. Not this time of the year though. I went during the summer, which is still like it was rainy and like 60 degrees or 50. It was chilly-ish and rainy. But I didn't go to Anchorage, and I did not run with any kind of reindeer, which I think would be cool. I mean,
Yeah.
just to even be in the presence of caribou like that. I've run across one similar animal. I ran across a moose in the wild once, and it was extremely massive. They're gorgeous, but they're huge and scary. Yeah, I was playing disc golf with my then boyfriend, now husband, and our dog was off leash, and she's like running and just stops, like every hair up. I'm like, what the hell's your problem? And I see this moose just like stand up out of nowhere. It was the coolest thing, like super majestic, but I think they're mean. So we just, we got out of there.
They're like the size of a car too. I would also have been scared.
Yeah. And I'm like, you know what? We're going to leave that disc over there, and then we're going to leave. And we disturbed this poor moose that was having a nap. It was like 7 a.m. or something ridiculous. So anyway, that's my story there. But yes, running with the reindeer, I would totally do it. It seems like you would as well. So
yeah.
Awesome. All right, let's get to streamers. Well, actually, let's answer Michael's question before we jump to streamers.
Do it.
All right. PPR.
Merry Christmas, Michael.
Yes. PPR, 2 running back, 2 wide receiver, 3 flex.
Oh.
DK, AJ Brown, St. Brown, Tillman looking for an RB1. I'm sorry, an RB2 and flex out of Gibson, Gainwell, Davis, Roshan. Should I bid on Strange? Have 213 of 1,000 left.
Definitely bid on Strange. He's going to be the top streamer this week. A high floor, probably low ceiling guy, but Mac Jones is not pushing the ball down the field, and so Brenton Strange is, I think, going to continue to get quite the target share. What do we think about this grouping here? Roshan should be back this coming week, presumably. He's still going to be second fiddle to Swift.
Yeah, I mean, Davis, I don't know. I didn't notice the target, or I'm sorry, the touch share between Isaiah Davis and Braylon Allen this week. If it was still kind of 50-50 or. Yeah, see, Davis only got 5. Well, he got 6 touches. 5.
Yeah, we have Brees back out there too.
Yes, I'm sorry, that is as well. So I don't think you're going to start him. Gainwell, I just don't think that's a trustworthy flex. He has been getting a little more run. I mean, Gibson, I don't know. I feel like Strange might be a better option than all of those as a flex.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, honestly, unless the Eagles are going to pull back on Saquon's role, or if an unknown reason. Swift was questionable heading into this game last night, but he played, so he should be just fine moving forward, presumably.
Yeah, presumably. I don't know if it's too early in week 16 to start pulling back um,
Yeah,
for Saquon and whatnot. So I don't know. I lean Strange just because he is the starter,
yeah.
and you're looking at a bunch of non-starters there.
And then looking for a RB2. So it's just one of those guys. I mean, Gibson probably,
Oh,
right?
and a flex. I'm sorry. I thought it was just
I
one total.
I read it. I read it as two running backs and one flex as well. But that's not how
Uh,
you wrote it.
I just read it as one flex, so I'm not even in the ballpark.
I mean, I'd be like, I'm fine with Gibson and Strange.
Yeah, I'd probably lean Gibson there too. I mean, they're the only thing with that is they are playing Buffalo, so they're probably the Patriots, I should say. So they will probably be behind. So I don't know about Gibson, but maybe he'll get some of that passing stuff for you.
Yeah,
So yeah, Gibson and Strange is kind of what we land on for
yeah.
now.
Agreed.
Check back. Okay, let's get two quarterbacks.
Let's do it.
It's not a great week, especially if you're trying to win something. It's okay. I think it's really one and then other. I mean, Aaron Rodgers, I think, is your only real viable streamer this week. He is 35% rostered, and he is at home against the Rams. Aaron Rodgers is the quarterback 15 since week 11. The Rams are kind of middle of the road against the quarterback, but he and Devontae Adams clearly are cooking. So I think Aaron Rodgers is a viable guy if you need him. My second excuse me, streamer this week is Drake May. I was just kind of talking about they're on the road in Buffalo. Like it looks like a very disgusting matchup, but I will say this. I thought that last week and I wrote him off and he delivered a QB 11 performance. So Drake May is he's putting up fantasy points regardless of a situation. And like I just mentioned for Michael's question, I think the Patriots are probably going to get behind in this game and they're probably going to throw. So I think you can get some garbage time love from Drake May there. So he's a second streamer. Third streamer, we're looking at Cooper Rush against Tampa Bay. He is 8% rostered. He had 214 yards and 3 touchdowns yesterday or 2 days ago. Tampa Bay is dead last in quarterback adjusted fantasy points allowed. They're allowing 22.6 to the quarterback every week, and they're very exploitable. So if you're desperate, Cooper Rush is also there. I did throw a fourth in, but he really is the like if you're absolutely desperate and there's nobody else, and that's Bryce Young against Arizona. I don't want to say he came back down to earth because I don't know how above earth he was, but he was at least like looking better, right? He was looking
Right.
like the Bryce Young that we thought was going to at least compete in the NFL for that starting job kind of thing. He is against Arizona. He's 7% rostered. He's coming off a rough week. I mean, he threw two meaningful picks last week, and Arizona's 7th in quarterback adjusted fantasy points allowed. So all signs really point to like do not start him. But if you're absolutely desperate and there's no Rodgers, May, or Rush, he's your fourth option there, unless you want to go with whoever the Browns trot out there, whether it's Winston or what's his name,
BTR.
yeah. Other than, or Hayner, I just don't. I'm sorry,
Spencer Radler.
Yes, they ended up with him. Yeah, I just don't think. I would assume if you're if you're in the semifinals of your home league that you're not going to have to use Bryce Young, but whatever.
Right.
He's the fourth guy there. So there you go. Rodgers, May, Rush, and then very far down we have Young.
Hey, it gets harder this time of year with these streamers because there's so many. I mean, there's dead teams that are just holding 2 or 3 of them, aren't even checking their lineups anymore.
Yep.
So I mean, there's upwards of 20 to 23 guys that are rostered in more than 40% of leagues at this point. So it's like you have 7 people to choose from. Which one has the best matchup?
Yeah, I mean it's not pretty, but and I actually have my main home league that I had to buy. I've been rolling with Kyler, and he got hurt briefly, or something happened, and I just heard it, and I was like, "Oh no!" Because I think Jameis is the only other guy on my bench right now, and I'd be in a lot of trouble if I had to go into the semifinals with possibly Jameis or whoever's on the waiver wire. So
yeah,
I am glad to see he was fine though. I think it was a brief something or other. But anyway, that's quarterback. It doesn't look like we have any other questions. So Justin, why don't you keep rolling on into
Let's
tight ends?
let's smash these tight ends out.
Yeah.
Our top streamer, as mentioned, is Brenton Strange. Came down with an 11 for 70 stat line last week on 12 targets. This was actually the 5th time this season that he scored at least 8 half PPR points, which I found surprising. I was not paying attention. But Ingram had missed time, and now he's going to miss the rest of the season. So looking into Mac Jones and where he's been operating, he has attempted 62.2% of his passes with less than 10 air yards on the season, and only 10.1% of his passes have reached 20 plus air yards. Comparing those two numbers, the 62.2% short yardage rate is far higher than Trevor Lawrence's 55.6%. And the 10.1% deep ball rate is far lower than Lawrence's 16.2%. So they've obviously changed the offense around a little bit to suit Mac Jones, and that means a lot of underneath passes to Brenton Strange.
Yeah.
So Brenton Strange is good here. The Raiders rank 30th in scheduled adjusted fantasy points allowed to the position. So Brenton Strange really looks like a good 8 target, 5 catch, 50-yard kind of play out of the tight end position, and that ain't too shabby. Next, we have Chigakonkwo, who pops up. I think this is the 3rd time in a row I've talked about him, probably because this offense looks miserable and no one really wants to roster him. So he sticks down at about 5% range. In the beginning of the season, he was rotating in with guys like Nick Vannett and Josh Weil, who the latter of which scored a touchdown last week to kind of cap Konkwo's possible fantasy points. We're not sure if Will Levis or Mason Rudolph will start at this point. I would assume it's Will Levis, but if it's Rudolph, that's just fine too. 30.7% of his passes went to the tight end. So a 30% target share to the tight end is quite nice. And then if Tony Pollard is limited in week 16, or if he ends up missing, that's one less check down safety valve for Levis and or Rudolph. Konkwo is available in 95% of leagues. And then as our deeper plays, we have Noah Gray. Mahomes does look hobbled, but if Wentz gets to start, he does have a 29.4% target share to tight ends over his last 3 starts. Those were with the Rams and the Commanders over the last couple of years. And then, of course, Wentz has a long history in Philadelphia with Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert getting a massive target share. So if Wentz starts, I don't think that really hampers Noah Gray as a play at all. We have Stone Smart up next against the Broncos. Will Dissly is already trending toward out again this week. And Quentin Johnston doesn't look like he will play either. He's a DNP so far early in the week, so we'll see on him. So Stone Smart might be the big body receiver here for Los Angeles in week 16 against the Broncos on Thursday night. And finally, we have Mike Gesicki, who's kind of just been sitting here, in the 3 for 36 range. Not so amazing, but they get the Browns. Since Cleveland's week 11 bye, they have allowed the most completions, the 6th most yards, and the 8th highest EPA per play to the tight end position. So this is still a viable mix of floor and ceiling to play in week 16 with the Cincinnati tight end. So to wrap up, it is Brenton Strange at 2%, Chigakonkwo at 5%, Noah Gray at 19%, Stone Smart at 5%, and Mike Gesicki at 14% rostered.
Look, there's some decent options there. It's not
bad.
It's not as dry as it could be.
It could be worse. You could do worse.
No, you could definitely do worse for sure. Okay. Yes, Lee, it is strange days ahead.
It is strange days.
As Justin just mentioned. All right, we have a question from Nestor Escobar.
All right, Nestor.
Merry Christmas to you. PPR, 2 flex. No kicker. You're out. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Just lost Demont. Yes. Big same there, Nestor.
Yeah.
I lost him in every league. Very unhappy. Okay. Brees Hall, Derrick Henry, Evans, JSN, Kittle. Good team.
Yeah, good
Flex
team.
2. Okay. Tom. Oh.
Mike Evans and Derrick Henry. I'm not even thinking about any of the other
No,
ones.
I think he's flexing from the last part. I think he's just saying who he has.
Oh,
Flex 2, Thomas, Jonnu Smith, Allen, Pickens. Other option, Coleman, Corum, Isaiah Davis. All right, well, we don't normally do start sits, but it is the end
hey, it's
here.
Christmas.
It is, yes, it is the holiday season. So we will
Brian
do.
Thomas for sure.
Yeah, we like Brian Thomas. I mean, Jonnu Smith has been, I mean, Keenan Allen, he hasn't really done much, but he did get, I think, a garbage time touchdown.
He did
Last week. And then Pickens has not been playing.
I'm saying Pickens if he goes, but I think
What is
his
it? A
like
hamstring? I can't remember. Let me.
yeah, it was like he was questionable in that first week, and then they missed, and then they ruled him out last week, like on Tuesday. So I think it's a little more aggravated than they thought it was going to be, which stinks.
He is a grade 2 hammy.
I mean, I honestly think I'd rather have Jonnu Smith than Keenan Allen. I know Keenan Allen's final stat line looked just fine, but that game was so out of hand. It was. I mean, it was. They got boat raced right from the start.
Yeah, Jonnu Smith. I mean,
a deep hamstring, says Lee.
Yeah, deep grade 2. So Jonnu Smith is. They're playing the Niners.
Okay.
Not fantastic, but he has 11 targets in 3 out of the last 4.
What the heck? Came
week,
out of nowhere.
Yeah, week 14 he only had 4, but he had 11 week 12, 11 week 13, and 11 week 15. So he's getting some usage. I kind of agree with you that I may roll the dice on him over Allen. That makes me nervous. Relying on Keenan Allen at this point, like you said, he's kind of. And they are playing the Lions. Well, they're playing the Lions, so it's probably will be a battle. And he did have 13 targets last week. That's a tough
I feel
one.
it. I mean, Thomas is locked in, no question. I think I think I'm still leaning Jonnu. If you go Keenan, I wouldn't. I'm not saying no.
Right, and I wouldn't go with Coleman, Corum, or Davis. I think it's definitely one of those. So
I mean, the Lions are missing their entire defense at this point. They're just the whole thing's on the IR.
True, and it is only it's only Tuesday, so I would just monitor some injury stuff with Pickens. But we say Thomas definitely, and then maybe Pickens, Smith, Allen, or Pickens, Allen, Smith. I don't know. That's a tough one.
Yeah.
Okay. Ryan Brown says Murray or Daniels. Daniels. Without looking at anything.
Yeah.
I don't even know who they play right now.
Oh, he's got the Eagles. That's play.
Oh, I gotcha. Okay. Yeah.
I mean, he's had quite the stretch run here.
I get that, but he's God, I felt like every time they flipped to the red zone, he was running somewhere.
Yeah, right. I mean, he had 11 carries.
He had 66 yards. And he thankfully propelled me into the finals in 2 different leagues, but that's neither here nor there.
Man, Kyler does have the Panthers. Ryan's got a point here.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's a tough one. I feel like
Murray hasn't been running so much recently.
No, he had 11 yards last week and he had 16 the week before. He had 48 in week 13, but other than that, it's been a lot of not much. I mean, the Panthers clearly are the better matchup, but I don't know. It depends on whether you want to get cute or not. I'd probably still stick with Daniels, but you could heavily debate it for the rest of the week. It's only Tuesday.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
I mean, it's tough. Okay, let's move on for a bit, and then we will come back. We're going to move on to Prize Picks. We know there are a ton of options out there for real money sports. Let's start over. We know there are a ton of options out there for real money sports action, but we have found one that really stands out from the rest. Prize Picks. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to everyone. Prize Picks is so easy to play, and now you can win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as few as 4 correct picks. One thing I really like is that Prize Picks is also the only real money daily fantasy platform with an injury insurance policy. So your lineups stay in play even if one of your players gets injured. If you sign up today, you will get $50 instantly when you play $5. That $50 bonus is guaranteed whether you win or not. this week, okay, so first of all, I do want to say last week, if you remember correctly, I forgot what the number was. I think I took Josh Allen over 37.5 rushing
Yeah.
yards, and he had 68. So
Yeah. Crushed.
another banger for prize picks last week. So this week is kind of silly, but I think it's funny. So I went with it. I like Cooper Rush to have more than 2.5 rushing yards against Tampa Bay. So I get it. He doesn't run, but he's had 5 rushing yards in the last 2 weeks, or in each of the last 2 games, right? So you would have cashed then, right?
Yeah.
The Bucks have allowed the 8th most ground yards to enemy quarterbacks this season. They're allowing 24.2 a game. So I think Cooper Rush can get 3 yards, right? You can get more than 2.5 rushing yards against them this week. So there you go. That's my pick. That's my prize pick of the week is Cooper Rush. So download the app today. Use code TMAP, TMAP, to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, just download the Prize Picks app. Use the promo code TMAP to get 50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game.
Russian.
Rush Russian for over 2.5 yards. More than.
Yeah. Who says no?
I can do that at home in my living room. Not against NFL defensive anyway. Okay. Where are we? Okay, we got one more from Michael here. Is $100 bid of my 213 left a good amount for Strange?
Yes.
50 for Coker. Yeah, we like that. Sure.
Absolutely.
Go for it. Okay.
There's only 1 week left.
Yeah, you only have 1 more week. So yeah, do it.
And Coker's fine there too. Yeah. I mean,
yeah. Okay.
I don't know if you're gonna start him, but
probably not. But you know what? Someone else may have to. So you wanna play defense. That's kind of. I feel like at this point, with 2 weeks left, you got to play defense against your opponents. Like, even if they're not going to crack your lineup, get rid of someone else that's lower on the cracking. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then add. All right, let's get to kicker real quick, because I'm sure all 120 people that are watching this right now are dying for kicker information. Maybe they are. You never know. Listen, we talked about this. This is the playoffs. Like, every single point counts. You lose by 1 point because you didn't stream a kicker and you just kept trotting out the same one, you're going to kick yourself, right? So this week's actually a pretty good week for kicker. There was a lot of kickers, and there are a lot, and they're all very low rostered. So they should be there for all of you guys. The first kicker, my number 1 streamer of the week, is Brandon McManus. He is playing at home against the Saints. He is only 20% rostered, and he's the highest rostered of anyone that I have. So the Packers, like I said, they're at home. Their team total is 27.75, which is the second highest on this week's slate. So good matchup for him. The Packers are almost 2 touchdown favorites over the Saints. They are right now 13.5. So yeah, McManus is a really good option. He's my number 1. Excuse me. Second option is Cade York, also at home against Cleveland. He is 5% rostered. Cade York, for some reason, is back on the practice squad at the moment, but he should be back. I mean, they're not. Evan McPherson's on IR, and I can't imagine they're going to bring someone else in. So it should be Cade York against Cleveland. The Bengals are 27.5 point team total, and they are touchdown favorites. They're favored by 7 right now over the Browns. So he's kind of my second guy. They're all kind of. I mean, after Brandon McManus, I feel like they're all mostly tied, but they're good options. Third option is Chad Ryland on the road against Carolina. He's only 5% rostered. The Cardinals have a team total of 27.75, and they're favored by 4 on the road in Carolina. So good third option there. Fourth option we have, is Joshua Carty, also on the road against the Jets. He's only 4% rostered. I mean, the Rams have a decent team total of 25.5, and they are favored by 3.5. So once again, I don't love road kickers, but I feel like both Ryland and Carty are going to be fine this week. And then my last guy I have, my 5th kicker, is Matt Gay at home against the Titans for that AFC South big exciting battle of the Colts versus the Titans. Matt Gay is 10% rostered. The Colts are 4.5 point favorites, and they're projected to score 23.5 points in the win. So wrap it up with a nice little bow. We've got McManus, York, Ryland, Carty, and Gay. There, in my streaming article, I think I actually have one or two more guys, but still, these should be fine, and they're all. Like I said, McManus is 20% rostered, and he's the highest.
Yeah,
Everyone
that's
else
nothing.
is pretty much single digits, so they should be there for you. Of course, there's everyone in the not my league, but it's kickers. They should be there for you. There. All right, let's answer a question or two before we get to defenses. Yeah.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. We got Nestor is back with Purdy or Herbert.
I'm probably going back to Purdy. I mean, I don't know.
So
I know
Purdy,
it wasn't pretty last week, but
yeah, Purdy plays Miami.
yeah, that's a fine matchup.
And I don't know even. Herbert plays the Broncos.
Right.
It is at home though, which I guess is better than playing.
It's also on Thursday, and then if Herbert pulls a Brock Purdy from last week, you got to sit with those 5 points on your roster all week long. Who
yeah,
wants that? Don't ruin your Christmas,
True. I probably lean Purdy as well in that case, just based on matchups, and like you said, you don't want to. Then, of course, the flip side of that is he, puts up 25 points and you're loving life coming out of Thursday. But
That's fair.
We don't know that that's really going to happen. So, all right.
I will say Pat Surtain is still questionable.
Oh, is he really?
So if he were, maybe that's the tiebreaker. If Surtain is not playing on the other side, I would go Herbert. I know it's not like a quarterback first cornerback matchup, but I think that's probably enough to push it over the edge.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it affects his pass catchers, so I get that. Michael says that kickers are a part of fantasy football, henceforth part of football. Thank you, Michael. We like that. All right, Mac is back with another quarterback start sit. Jameis, May, or Purdy. Thanks in advance. Definitely not Jameis.
What do you think about? I guess it's just Purdy versus May, right?
Yeah, I mean, May, like I said, I did recommend him as a streamer, but he's on the road in Buffalo. Like,
yeah,
not necessarily ideal, but he's proved us wrong before. So
that's fair.
Probably Purdy, but
I still think I like Purdy more, but I understand.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, Nestor.
Oh, May finally found the end zone on the ground. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, he really he surprised us. I didn't even put him in my streamers last week because I was like, it's not a great matchup, and then this is not pretty. But like I said earlier, with May, the Patriots are probably going to be behind, so you're going to get some garbage time for that. Yeah. So I don't hate May there. Sorry, we don't have a full. We both agree no Jameis, so.
We do.
Just marinate on the other two for the rest of the week. It is only Tuesday.
I think I would lean Purdy myself, but
right.
Only by a little bit.
Let's see here. Joanne needs a quarterback. Winston or pick up Rush or Young?
Where am I?
I kind of like Rush. I mean, I did put him in my streaming article. I mean, Jameis. I mean, are we sure they're going to put him back out there this week?
What happens if he throws a pick on his first drive and they just bench him again?
Yeah, like I'm
not starting Jameis Winston in a league that I care about.
No, yes, and
I can't do it.
And to be, for an example, I have him in Scott Fishbowl where I'm in the semifinals and he will not be starting.
Yeah, don't do that.
It's not a chance. So I don't hate Cooper Rush. Like I said earlier, Joanne, I don't know if you were here. Tampa Bay is dead last in against quarterbacks. They're very exploitable. He threw 214 yards and 3 touchdowns last week. So I'd pick up Rush. I wouldn't pick up Young unless you're absolutely desperate. But if Rush is there, I'd go with that.
Yeah.
Michael says to pick up Mac Jones or Rush and drop Winston. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you're going to start him or not, but I'd
rather have Rush there as well.
If it's just to block somebody else or just to have an option in case something happens, I would drop Winston and go with Rush. I mean, Mac Jones, I don't know. I actually don't know who Jacksonville's playing off the top of my head this week, but
they're playing the Raiders.
Oh, yeah.
Which is a fine matchup, but he's still Mac Jones.
Yeah, he is still Mac Jones. All right, Justin, let's go for some defenses.
Let's knock these defenses out. My top pick of the week is the Falcons at the Giants. It looks like it will be Tim Boyle, but even if it's not, him, and it's Tommy DeVito or it's Drew Lock or Daniel Jones re-signs with them, it doesn't really matter. We need to keep streaming against the Giants, who have allowed a 38.2% pressure rate, the second highest in the league. The Falcons are rostered in only 38% of leagues. Next, we have the Colts versus the Titans. The Titans had an astonishing 6 turnovers last week, and even if Will Levis took care of most of that, Mason Rudolph did come in and throw an interception as well. Their offensive line is still a mess and will be until at least the NFL draft next season. So streaming against the Titans is perfectly fine, even if Mason Rudolph ends up getting the start over Levis. Next, we have the Bengals versus the Browns. The Bengals got the Will Levis treatment last week, all those turnovers, and we could very likely see the same thing here with either Jameis Winston or Dorian Thompson-Robinson. Sorry, something just popped up behind my screen. DTR came in and completed only 4 of his 9 passes for 18 yards, which is 2 yards per attempt. Not great. And an interception. And then as a bonus, just to check to make sure that they are not already rostered, the Packers versus the Saints, they are rostered in 51% of leagues, so more than likely they are not in your league. But it looks as though they'll get Spencer Rattler or Jake Hayner. The Packers defense has scored 8.6 fantasy points in the 5 games since their bye, and this includes against the Lions a couple weeks ago. They have 12 sacks in their last 2 non-Detroit Lions games, so Rattler or Jake Hayner should be under duress. So to wrap up the defenses, nice little bow. The Falcons at 38% rostered, the Colts at 22% rostered, the Bengals against the Browns at 39% rostered. And before you add any of those, check to make sure that the Packers are rostered in your league. And if not, they should be the top streamer.
All righty. I'm probably going to need to stream this week. I'm not sure. I got to check at my stuff, but I definitely I'm definitely a defense streamer. I don't hold, especially whatever, doesn't matter. But yes, thank you for that. Do we have any more questions here? Oh, Max says, should I give up my first for Bo Nix or May? Oh, like your first waiver priority.
Oh, here, hold on. I think it's a continuation of this.
Dynasty question. I'm so sorry. Yeah, go ahead. Answer that.
I didn't see it either. How much would you value Jameis if he ends up elsewhere, mid to late second? Dynasty team that doesn't value QB, no extra points for passing yards. If this is a 1 QB league, if it's a super flex league, it's different. But if this is a 1 QB league, I don't think Jameis Winston is even worth a second round rookie pick. Just in a 1 QB league, I might send honestly, this sounds mean, but like a 4th round rookie pick. I don't think Jameis starts anywhere next year. I think he's offered a boost for the Browns, but we've also seen his lowlights, and I think teams have kind of moved on from him. The fact that the Browns are benching him should give us an idea of how an NFL team thinks about him to begin with.
He's saying it's super flex, by the way. He just added that. If that changes your
it is super flex. I'm not sending a late second round pick for Jameis Winston. Maybe it turns to a 3rd or so. I don't know. I'm probably not trying to get Jameis Winston. He's like borderline waiver wire fodder, in my opinion, in dynasty leagues. And then I think he's following it up. Should I give my first for Bo Nix or May? In a super flex league, I think you should absolutely either one. Nix seems like he's got the better infrastructure. He's got reliable pass catchers. I think a first is completely viable for either of those guys. They're both going in the late first anyways. And now that we know that they're their starter in perpetuity, and then the Broncos offense doesn't look like crap because we all assumed the Broncos were going to be terrible this year. I would absolutely send a first for Bo Nix or May.
How about Bo Nix? He got no flowers, none going into this. Nobody really, he was not in the conversation. I mean, obviously JJ McCarthy got hurt early and he wasn't in the mix, but Bo Nix got nothing, no respect coming into this.
Right.
And he's been great. And we might actually see, we might also see another rookie in Atlanta. I think we will actually this week.
Right.
I think Kirk Cousins is going to get the old heave ho, and they need to see what they have in Penix. I mean, that's my opinion, but I feel like I don't know what was up with Kirk Cousins last night.
I mean, it's not like they ran through the freaking Raiders, anyways.
It was definitely a very strange game. It was like, what are we watching here? Like, he couldn't even complete a 5-yard pass. It was very, very strange. All of his passes were ill-timed, ill-placed. And I was just sitting there fighting to try to get anything out of Drake London. Like, thank goodness he got in. And that, I mean, he had that one touchdown. That was like his best pass of the game. But for Scott Fishbowl, I absolutely needed it. And I was like, can you just throw him the ball once or twice more? And it just wasn't happening. I actually thought he was going to maybe get benched during the game, but I think we will see Michael Penix this week.
Yeah.
Which would be fun.
Wouldn't that be nice?
It would be fun. I mean, they
play the Giants. Maybe they get out to a 20-point lead and they just stick Penix in the second half.
See, I think they're going to do it from the get. You don't think so? I mean, why not?
I don't know. I mean, I would hope they do.
Just to see what they have. Why not?
Yeah.
I mean, it would stink for everyone out there that has Cousins that is, in Superflex and think, I doubt people are counting on him in regular 1 QB leagues at this point, but
they're probably already out of the playoffs at this point. So
right. if they were. All right. We've got another question here from Michael. Should I keep Hollywood Brown as a week 17 third flex starter in a pinch? Other options to stream are Gray, T. Patrick, and Strong.
Yeah, I think so. I mean,
think Hollywood over Patrick? Tim Patrick he's getting some run again.
Yeah. I guess we would have to see Hollywood this week, and we're not going to, are we? If Hollywood doesn't play this week, you can't start him next week in your championship. Because he might go out there and run 8 routes.
Yeah, I mean,
we don't know what kind of workload he's going to have.
He's not slated to come back until next week, so
I guess it's probably fine unless you think someone's going to pick him up and play him, and he's going to that person's going to shove it in your face. But I don't think so.
And they do have Pittsburgh week 17, so it's not a fantastic matchup anyway. Just to throw that out.
Yeah, I think it's fine. Well. It's just one of those. It's one of those things. This is coming from someone who stashed Jonathan Brooks on countless rosters this year.
Big Sam.
You just got to eat it.
You just got to eat it. Yeah. All right. Well, that wraps up our week 16 show. Wow, I even get 12 minutes to myself before my meeting here with our boss. Anyway, thank you guys so much for joining us. We appreciate it each and every week. We'll be back next week for the last week of our of this show.
Yeah.
And then there will be some sort of hiatus till off season team app gets rolling again. But yeah, we'll see you guys next week. Hopefully you can crush your contest so that you will be back next week.
Right.
And then if we don't see you again, have a wonderful holiday season and a wonderful new year, and we will see you in 2025.